And we start from the land of Burkina Faso, a coup in 1987 and another in 2014, a failed attempt in 2015 and now 2022. We'll be right to say this is where the gun rules.
Communiqué numéro 1. Peuple du Burkina Faso, concitoyens, concitoyennes, amis du Burkina Faso. Au regard de la dégradation continue de la situation sécuritaire qui menace les fondements même de notre nation, de l'incapacité manifeste du pouvoir de M. Roch-Marc Christian Kaboré à unir les Burkinabés pour faire face efficacement à la situation et suite à l'exaspération des différentes couches sociales de la nation, le mouvement patriotique pour la sauvegarde et la restauration, MPSR, a décidé d'assumer ses responsabilités qui regroupent toutes les composantes.
This movement, bringing together all components of the defense and security forces, has decided to put an end to the rule of Roch-Marc Christian Kaboré on this, the 24th of January 2022.
Une décision prise dans le seul
A decision made solely to put our country back on the right track and to bring together our forces to fight for the territorial integrity of our country, the recovery of our country, and the sovereignty of our country.
Et sa souveraineté.
We are here today to support our army that decided to save our lives. We are here today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. We support our army.
What is going on here at the moment? Nothing is going well. We expected a lot from President Roch, and he has only disappointed people more with new appointments. Always with a new government, but he was the real problem.
We've been protesting for 3 days. There have been 7 years since President Kaboré took power, and a lot of blood has been shed. Burkina Faso is suffering.
So that was the announcement that ushered in the new era in Burkina Faso. The military said it has deposed President Roch Kaboré, dissolved the government, parliament, and suspended the constitution. But the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has condemned the military takeover and asked the men to return the country to democratic rule. In a statement, the West African bloc also said it held the military responsible for the physical well-being of President Kaboré, whose whereabouts are unknown. Let me bring you details of that statement. You have that on your screen. It says, ECOWAS is following with great concern the evolution of the political and security situation in Burkina Faso, characterized on Sunday, January 23, 2022, by an attempted coup d'etat. ECOWAS condemns this extremely serious act, which cannot be tolerated under the relevant regulatory provisions. It holds the military responsible for the physical integrity of President Roch-Marc Christian Kaboré. ECOWAS asks the military to return to the barracks to maintain a republican posture and to favor dialogue with the authorities to resolve the problem. Now, Burkina Faso's army said it's taking over the country on Monday. Let's go to Ouagadougou now and speak to Hainte Sanu, CEO of the Philifos Media Group. Thank you very much, Hainte, for joining us here on Joy News Prime in Accra. Now, 1987, we had a coup. There was a failed coup subsequently, others, and now we are here in 2022. What is the situation in the country this evening?
That evening, everything is good, calm. You know, all the day people are going to work and waiting for another communication of the military will take the power, and we also have at 9 p.m. to have to go home because there is what to say in French. I don't know how to say it in English. It's an hour to go home because military decide to to fix this hour. So we call it in English, in French.
Are you talking about a curfew?
Yes.
Okay. So the curfew has been imposed?
Yes.
Great. Is it clear where the president is, the deposed President Kabore?
The post-President Kabore is now in a camp called Sangule La Mizana. It's a military camp. He is in this camp and with the military people.
Okay. Will you say that this coup is popular with the people?
Sorry?
Will you say that the people back this coup, the military takeover, do they have the support of the people?
Yes, many people come on the roads to support the military people, to support the coup all the day to do it. And we have some manifestation in other countries in Burkina Faso to sustain the coup.
Okay.
ECOWAS, we don't have somebody say no to the coup until now.
Now, ECOWAS has spoken about this uprising, condemning it and urging dialogue. What has been the reaction of the military junta?
From now, we don't have a reaction from military because they just make some communication on the national TV every evening.
Okay.
So,
well, we seem to have lost that connection for Hainte Sanu bringing us that update. But what he was saying is that soon they will expect a communication from the military junta and perhaps there will be a reaction to ECOWAS's concerns. But let's go to the other connection. Emmanuel Bombande is a senior UN media advisor and joins us here on Joy News Prime. Mr. Bombande, I'm grateful that you joined us. The last time we spoke, it was a failed attempt. Today, they actually have taken over. Was this preventable or simply bound to happen?
You asked a very interesting question, and let me greet your viewers and all your listeners. I'll say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that by September 2021, it was obvious that the frustration in the military was leading to a possible coup d'etat. But no, also in the sense that the army has not been united, even as I speak with you, and even as the current events unfold. So the contending dynamics could have then facilitated such a coup d'etat or not. But as it has happened, a coup d'etat has then prevailed. But let me quickly add that this coup d'etat is the height of the greatest paradox in Burkina Faso. Because you started by trying to recall the instability through coup d'etats. Keep in mind that in 2014, the very people on the streets, some of whom are the ones supporting this coup d'etat, are the ones who were insisting on constitutionalism and insisted that President Blaise Compaoré could not have a third term by manipulating a constitutional change in the parliament. And they physically attacked the parliament with stones and rocks, because that is where the decision was being made. And that led to the ousting of President Blaise Compaoré.
Yeah.
Then a transition arrangement was put in with ECOWAS and UN support. And there was an attempt to overthrow the transition. But the transition was basically, through the leadership of ECOWAS, made to prevail, and we were now able to have the elections at the end of 2015. But the reason why I call it a paradox is that the constitutionalism that was installed is the one that has been uprooted, and the very people who were on the streets demanding constitutional rule and respect for their constitution are the ones now supporting the overthrow of that constitution. And
very
so
interesting the turn of events, Mr. Bombande. But we always want to focus on the effect on Ghana, bring it home. There's Mali, there's Guinea, and now there's Burkina Faso. What risk does this pose to us? Why should we be concerned?
The risk is pervasive in the sense that it's a general fragile situation across the Sahel, and we, to the south, are basically trying to withstand the threats and the risks that keep on coming. And to that extent, each time that we see these events, it reminds us that they make us vulnerable. Because it doesn't matter how hard we try, our vulnerability increases when there's a collapse of what you would call an elected government in the neighboring Sahel regions.
Yeah.
And to that extent, we need to constantly update, rehearse, and prepare ourselves for the worst. And the only way we do that is through regional collaboration and cooperation. We provided leadership in the Accra Initiative.
Yeah.
We are the chair of ECOWAS. And coincidentally, we are also the chair of the Peace and Security Council of the African Union. And we are on the Security Council of the United Nations.
UN, yeah.
So everything has aligned, and Ghana is the center of focus in terms of how do we fend this off. But I would add onto this that you cannot solve a problem, which is a big problem like terrorism, by creating another problem to resolve it. And that is why values and principles matter. And we must continue to articulate that you fight terrorism better when governed by the choice of the people who elected a government and not those who overthrew a government with the force of the gun.
And finally, Mr. Bombande, you talk about how Ghana is leading in many areas at the sub-regional level, at the continental level, and even on the UN platform. Let's look at the role of President Akufo-Addo in all of this. There are concerns that the happenings in the sub-region may affect home because it could be overwhelming. Is this legitimate?
I wouldn't want to characterize it as legitimate. And let me quickly try to draw my reason for that. If you look in Burkina Faso, the topic of our discussion, it is not just the fragility and the overwhelming, so to speak, incapacity of Burkina Faso to deal with the terrorist groups, because the frustration of the people is the continuous attacks and killings. But there is also the fragility of social cohesion. And that social cohesion has been exploited by terrorist groups. If you look at ethnic cleavages, for example, the Pale or Fulani versus the Moshi people, and they have inserted themselves in the intercommunal and interethnic grievances, recruiting and taking advantage of these grievances to disrupt social cohesion. Now, in Ghana, I don't want to praise ourselves, and I don't want to pretend that we don't have intercommunal violence, because in my civil society days, I have worked at the forefront of that. What I want to say is we must continue to build our social cohesion. Now, you don't build social cohesion only at the social level. You build it at the political level. You build it at the economic level. And that is why we can never underrate genuine consensus building as a united people on all policy issues. And politicians need to be educated and need to be informed that anytime you speak in a way that divides, that excludes, and anytime you insist that it is your only way and there's no other way, you are breaking our social cohesion and you are making us vulnerable. And we must be mindful of this. As long as we have that social cohesion, I believe that at the security level of our military, we can protect our borders and we can protect the integrity and the sovereignty of Ghana.
Great. But Mr. Bombande, I said the last one, but very briefly, before you take leave of us, people are watching and they may be wondering, what is it that is making Burkina Faso so volatile? Because we have 1987, 2014, there was a failed one in 2015, and then now in 2022. What at all could be the reason?
This round of threat that has overwhelmed Burkina Faso can be situated in the larger Sahel region. Let's be very frank and let's be honest with ourselves. Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso have failed in terms of the capacity of the state to fight terrorism. And in their failure, the international community has also failed to provide the necessary support that would make it, in my view, robust enough to fight the terrorists. And so you have a G5 Sahel that was created to fight terrorism. It has failed. You have Barkhane. You have all these initiatives. And yet, on a daily basis, the people continue to be killed, abducted, kidnapped, and you name it. And associated with that is the policy response. And specifically to Burkina Faso, there has been no coherence. On one track, there is a trial of Thomas Sankara to bring justice. Then on another track, the attempt to build reconciliation. These two tracks were disjointed. And in that situation, you should not be surprised that it simply caved in. And I'll conclude by saying this. It is not because the military are substituting themselves to the elected government that the problem is solved. As a matter of fact, I'm even more frightened because there is, unlike Guinea, where you could see a sense of direction of where the military wanted to go. These particular pushes are not clear where they want to go.
Exactly.
And so the vulnerability across the Sahel will remain. And ECOWAS, in my view, with the leadership of Ghana, has to put it out there very strongly and forcefully. If you don't support the fight against terrorism in the Sahel and in West Africa, country by country is going to collapse. And let us not pretend that that is not plausible.
Mr. Bombande, I'm grateful that you joined us here on Joy News Prime. That's a senior UN mediator, Mr. Emmanuel Bombande, formerly a Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister.